Welcome back to What the Fact. I'm Katie and this is Aaron, and it's time now for this week's midterm matchup.
And this week we're here in Florida, the center kind of the political universe, a lot of years it seems. And I think this year it's really not that much different. We have a really interesting governor's race between Andrew Gillum, the mayor of Tallahassee, and Ron DeSantis, congressman from Northeast Florida. Gillum is kind of running as a abolish ICE and replace it, kind of Medicare for all, raise taxes on the wealthy to kind of increase education. Really a populist kind of Democratic message supported by Bernie Sanders. On the Republican side, you have DeSantis, who's very much in the mold of Trump. Trump endorsed him early on. These are both people who many people didn't expect to be here in this race in November. They both kind of won upsets in the primary. DeSantis was fueled by Trump, and Gillum was kind of fueled by this kind of motivation from the left to kind of try to do things differently. And so it's been a really interesting race, real nasty race that quite frankly has kind of taken a little bit of a hiatus thanks to the hurricane. Things are starting to pick up. The television ads never stopped. We're waiting on these two to debate, but that doesn't mean there's not a lot for us to fact check, because there certainly has been.
Yes, as Hurricane Michael was pummeling the Panhandle, the Republican Party of Florida ran an ad about a past hurricane that Andrew Gillum was involved in kind of reacting to as the mayor of Tallahassee. They said that Gillum stood in the way and prevented utility workers who wanted to help restore power, and that's frankly a huge exaggeration.
Yeah.
We are closing in on Election Day, and in Florida, that means the possibility of electing the state's first black governor. Democrat and Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum is facing Republican former U.S. Representative Ron DeSantis in a bid for the office. The Republican Party is going after Gillum for his mayoral record.
After the hurricane, we had no electricity for over a week. Utility companies lined up trucks to restore power. But as mayor, Andrew Gillum refused help from workers. The trucks just sat while people suffered.
That's a misleading claim. Here's some context. After Hurricane Hermine in 2016, thousands of people in Florida's Panhandle lost power. Florida Power and Light, or FPL, offered to help get the lights back on. Tallahassee's general manager of utilities at the time reportedly thought the city already had enough help and didn't want to create unsafe conditions by saturating the area with workers. So he didn't jump on FPL's offer. A city spokesperson who talked to PolitiFact backed that up, saying the city had already accepted all the help it could safely utilize. Officials at the time told PolitiFact that ultimately, the decision of whether or not to accept more help fell to the utilities manager, not the mayor. Regardless, city and state officials got plenty of criticism for how they handled power restoration after Hermine. Republicans argue Gillum bears some responsibility because he didn't speak up, but others have countered, saying he approved an agreement already in place. Shortly after the storm, Gillum defended officials' response. Whether the situation was properly handled or not, it's important to understand the context. Suggesting Gillum single-handedly refused help from utility companies is misleading, and the ad attacking Gillum leaves an inaccurate impression.
All right, Katie, so hurricane politics in Florida is a big deal. This is a claim that is pretty misleading. How did it rate on the Truth-O-Meter?
It's going to get our mostly false rating, which means there's only an element of truth, but it's really distorting the key facts. Yeah. So the Republicans laid on some exaggerations here. What's at the meat of the claim really amounts to nothing more than an online rumor that was spurred by one utility company kind of response to Hurricane Hermine in 2016. So the plural use of utilities that Andrew Gillum prevented them from responding to the storm to help restore power is just wrong.
Yeah, the ad itself leaves you kind of with the thought that, oh, they just kind of like, they locked the walls to the city and let no one in to try to restore power. That's certainly not the case from the facts that we lay out at PolitiFact.com.
Right. So at issue was one utility company, Florida Power and Light. It's a utility company that has tremendous capital in Florida's capital, but not so much of a presence in Tallahassee. It's not the utility provider kind of on record. But what happened is that Gillum didn't even really have the authority to say which utility companies should come in and help restore power after Hurricane Hermine, which is a really big storm in that area. The fact is the city was receiving help from 8 other utilities, kind of organized by a manager who deals with utilities on a regular basis. Tallahassee doesn't have a strong mayor form of government, and they just didn't have the kind of infrastructure to accept FBL's assistance. So it wasn't, we found no evidence that it was politically motivated as the ad made it sound. They made it sound like Gillum was being really petty and refusing all help, and that's not true. All right, we also looked at another claim from the Republican Party of Florida, which was turning personal against Gillum again, saying that Gillum is running from the FBI. Is he really on the lam?
No, he's not. So basically, there's a corruption probe that's ongoing in the city of Tallahassee. It has to do with potential kickbacks that people hoping to develop in the area have been making or giving to public officials. We don't really know who the target of that investigation is, but what we do know is during the investigation, Andrew Gillum agreed to be interviewed by the FBI. He did so, he says, without a lawyer. His legal team says that he has been told he's not the target of this investigation. We don't know that independently, but what we do know is that the RPOF ad here goes way too far in saying that he's somehow running from the FBI because, quite frankly, the FBI knows exactly where he is. Gillum has cooperated in the investigation to date. We probably won't have a conclusion to that investigation before the election, so we really can't say a lot about how much or whether, if at all, Gillum is involved. But what
Neither
we do
can
know,
RPOF.
What we do know is the RPOF can't either. So that's why that claim got a negative rating on the Truth and Meter.
All right, that's going to do it for us this week. I hope you enjoyed the show. Until next week, I'm Katie and this is Aaron. Have a great day.